From Islam to nothing, I'm back again. My name is Yusuf Khan. I'm 34 years old, born in Pakistan, raised in the United Kingdom, and for a long stretch of my life, I thought I had walked away from Allah for good. I grew up in a small flat in East London, one of those narrow, aging council blocks where you can hear your neighbors' arguments through the walls and smell someone else's dinner before you've even made your own. My parents were the kind of immigrants who worked double shift, so their kids would never feel the weight they carried across the ocean. My mother used to come home from cleaning offices with her hands cracked from the cheap soap they provided, and still she would smile when she saw us. My father, a taxi driver, often returned long after we were asleep, but somehow he always woke in time for Fajr. The house smelled like chai and hope, old carpets, fresh rotis, the sound of my mother reciting Quran while she folded clothes. She taught me Surah Fatiha before I even learned my alphabet, her voice slow and patient, as if she knew those words would one day save me. My father took me to the masjid every Maghrib, his big rough hand wrapped around my small one, guiding me through crowds of men who always seemed so certain in their faith. But outside our door was a different world, one where you had to choose between blending in and being devoured. School was the first place I learned that my name made teachers hesitate. Yusuf, they would say, stretching the vowels as if they were afraid of breaking them. Classmates wrinkled their noses at the smell of my lunch, laughed at my mother's accent when she came to parents' evening, and raised eyebrows when I mentioned anything remotely religious. Inside the house, I was Yusuf, the Muslim boy. Outside, I was trying to be whoever the world needed me to be so I wouldn't stand out. A chameleon, a version of myself trimmed and reshaped to survive. It was like living two lives without fully belonging to either. By the time I reached secondary school, the Quran on my shelf had dust on it. The masjid felt far away, and the world felt loud, colorful, tempting, and so incredibly easy to drown in. Look, there is a kind of loneliness that doesn't show on your face. It sits quietly in the bones, like a cold you learn to live with. I remember being 16 and feeling like belief was a language I no longer understood. Everyone around me still spoke it fluently. My parents, the uncles at the masjid, the kids who never missed a Quran class. But when I tried to join in, the words felt heavy, foreign, borrowed. I wasn't angry with Islam. I wasn't rebelling. I just drifted the way a leaf drifts when the branch stops holding on. Little by little, I stopped praying. At first, it was just Fajr, then Zuhr, then whole days would pass and I wouldn't even think about Salah. I stopped caring, or maybe I cared so much that it hurt to admit how far I had fallen. So I filled the silence with everything that helped me forget. Music drowning in my headphones, late night gaming sessions where nobody knew my name, parties where the lights were dim enough for me to pretend I belonged, voices that made me feel seen for a moment, and habits that made me feel absolutely nothing. University pushed me even further. It was the first time I was surrounded by people who lived life like faith was optional, like morality was a personal playlist you could shuffle. And if I am honest, that was the first time I said the word out loud. I don't know if I even believe in any of this. And once you say it, it becomes easier to live like it, to wake up late, to skip Ramadan fasts, to let your heart harden layer by layer until the guilt stops knocking. I built my life on the illusion of control, a good job in IT, a clean apartment, nights filled with friends, enough distractions to keep me from hearing myself think. I wore independence like armor, convinced it meant freedom. And yet, every morning I woke up with the same question lodged in my chest, heavy as a stone. Why do I still feel empty? It's a frightening thing to have everything you thought you wanted and still feel like nothing inside you is rooted, like you're living on soil that keeps slipping away beneath your feet. The turning point was not dramatic, no lightning bolt, no sudden miracle, just a phone call. My father's voice was unusually soft. He said, Yusuf, I'm in the hospital. It was his heart. I drove there numb. When I walked into the room and saw him, my father, the strongest man I knew, lying small and fragile in a hospital gown, something inside me cracked. He opened his eyes, squeezed my hand, and said, Beta, pray for me. I hadn't made sujood in years. I didn't even remember the last dua I had whispered. But in that moment, I felt something ancient awaken, something I thought I had killed long ago. I stepped into the hospital prayer room, empty, quiet, still, and when I bowed, it was like all the years I had run away collapsed into a single exhale. This is where everything changed for me. I always tell people my reversion wasn't a moment. It was a slow coming home. After my father recovered, I found myself visiting the masjid alone, sitting at the back, watching men pray with a peace I couldn't understand anymore. There was no big speech, no scholar who convinced me. It was just the feeling that this was the only place where my heart wasn't pretending. I began reading again. The Quran felt different now, almost like it was speaking through the cracks in my life. Verses I had memorized as a child suddenly carried weight. Look, I didn't re enter Islam through fear of death. I re entered because I realized life without Allah had no meaning. My Shahada, it was quiet, no audience, no cameras, just me sitting in my car after Fajr, whispering the words I had known since childhood, but this time with intention. Ash Hadu. And when I said it, I felt like I was breathing for the first time in years. If you're someone who was born Muslim but feels disconnected, listen, you're not broken. You're not a hypocrite. You're not too far gone. Ask yourself why you drifted. Ask yourself what filled the space where faith used to live. And ask yourself, has any of it truly satisfied you? Come back slowly. Come back quietly if you need to. Come back even if you feel unworthy, especially if you feel unworthy. Allah doesn't slam the door on you, He keeps it open, waiting for the moment your heart realizes it has nowhere else to go. But I used to think returning to Islam meant becoming someone new. But really, it was becoming who I always was beneath the noise. My name is Yusuf Khan, and this was my log out to re-log in story. Alhamdulillah for the one who never lets us go too far.